some interesting presentations, some interesting set of questions to be answered. I know Raghav has an interesting question for us, which he actually was happy to actually say that, like, he was going to present it in the community call. So let's go from there. Um, Now, I hope you guys can actually see my screen. Sorry, I'm probably asking this a second time. Would you guys mind entering your name in the attendees list, and let's get started from there. Look like there is a new topic for review. Not sure if Ashiko is available in this call. I have to switch windows to actually see that. All right, so the Ashiko is not here in this call. You should call it the word company. It's not like a word company. It's the word company. Yes, the one and only one.
No. Soon. For now, it's just a word.
All right. So before we get started, does anybody else have anything to discuss? Get started with, before we delve deep into the topic or topics. Eventually, there'll be more. All right. So it looks like we don't have any specific topics, but I'm going to ask Lee this question. Lee, do you have any specific topics to discuss? Before we hand off the ball to Mr. Word.
Well, two thoughts. One is that I generally try to give a community update about happenings and relevant events. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to hopefully start a little bit of a new tradition about encouraging some others to begin to call out things that they see of interest or of note, or just a recognition that those things do not have to come from me, and that just because I'm saying them doesn't mean that they're the most important ones to focus on or the most relevant. So the top of mind for me is why I got up a little bit late this morning, and that was from last night's service mesh workshop held here in Austin. We took a class of about 50 meetup attendees through our workshop, this community's workshop, one that Subham had recently gone through and helped correct a couple of things. Turns out a couple of items have changed. It's an Istio-based workshop, which, by the way, we'll be working on a Linkerd based version soon. And by we, I'm hoping that that's the royal we of everyone here. In part because I'm hoping that this is understood, and to the extent that it isn't, I want to make sure that it is understood that the workshop that's out there is yours to take and deliver, is yours to go and submit to a conference or do a meetup with, or take to your company or wherever, take to the coffee shop, and either for you to learn from or for you to deliver to others. I think that that's part of the mission of the community here, is that through you taking that to someone else, through you taking it, clearly you learn. Through you delivering it to someone else, you learn probably even more. It's amazing how much you learn through trying to share with others. And so, good, I just wanted to go on the record for the 9th time that that's a community, just like Meshery, it's a community asset, if you will. The workshop. So we held one last night in Austin, and we had about 100 people sign up. We actually announced that Service Mesh workshop at Docker Austin and at Cloud Native Austin, 2 meetups here in town. And so it worked out pretty well, other than my fumbling around for a moment with Docker Desktop. But we made it through, and we had a lot of new people sign into Slack, so we should have seen an influx last night from that. We have in the past, we've shared some statistics about how many people are using Meshery. Every time that someone signs in, or every time that someone runs a performance test. By the way, just like the number of hamburgers that McDonald's has sold, you can see the number of performance tests that people have run using Meshery. And I guess who on the call can tell us where you can find that statistic?
In a Word file in the layer 5
Okay,
website.
I'll do you one better. It's in an Excel file. No, actually Gungeon knows this very well. It's on layer5.io/Meshery. You'll see on the left-hand side of that page, there's a certain number of performance tests run. So we're at about 559 at the moment. Actually, it'd be funny if you got anyone gives it a test, anyone runs a test right now, and watch it jump by a number. So anyway, that number had probably jumped a little bit last night because I think some people ran some things. So anyway, in terms of general announcements, that's just top of mind for me that we held that workshop last night. There were some pleasant things said about the work that you guys have been doing on Meshery. The other item is that, so most of us are familiar with the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, the CNCF, the foundation that has Kubernetes and many of the other cloud native, popular cloud native open source tools. I'm meeting later today with one of the CNCF TOC members to discuss Meshery and its donation or its adoption into the CNCF. And so I've been hinting towards this for a long time and sort of saying, hey, we think it's about this time frame that we'll go for that. There's a few milestones to achieve, and thanks to the work that everyone here has been doing, we've made that mark. So it's time to go and present that formally. So yesterday, I chair the CNCF SIG network, the Special Interest Group for Network, and we did 2 reviews of 2 projects. One was Project Contour. The other one, which is is an Envoy-based Kubernetes ingress controller. That's what Contour is. The other project that was presented is Service Mesh Interface, SMI. We've talked about SMI on this call a number of times, and you all can see it if you, and there's a slight update, and I think it's actually worth showing. You all can see it if you were to browse to this same page, smi-spec.io. I'll bring this down here. smi-spec.io. Many of you are familiar already. Many of you have seen, are vaguely aware of what this spec is and the fact that Meshery has been a partner. And now that we finally landed logos and things, Layer 5 is now listed with other logos that you'll recognize. So this is good, something that you all should take pride in because it points right over to Meshery. So the point is, yesterday SMI was proposed for SMI, this spec was proposed for adoption into the CNCF as well, and it's clear that that group was wanting it to go into be proposed as an incubation status project, and that was probably a stretch too far. And so they moved it to a sandbox project. I'm just going to bring this up for context for everyone who doesn't spend that much time here. So sandbox projects in the CNCF, these are examples of the sandbox projects. I'm sorry, not examples. These are the sandbox projects. So my expectation is that it wouldn't be long before we see a service mesh interface here, and hopefully we would see a Meshery listed here. So, okay, great. That was it for me. So, does anyone else have any general topics before we go back?
Yeah, I've already posted that in the chat. Now it looks like Raghav is having issues connecting to this call. I was trying to help him, on the site. I'm going to continue trying that, but yeah, in the meantime, if you guys can actually if you guys have anything else to discuss, please, feel free to bring it up now. If not, we can give the ball to Nuno.
Hello, sir.
Hey, Gunjan.
Sir, actually, today I had some conversation with Ashiko about the Helm chart.
Right.
Ashiko made Helm chart for Istio and Linkerd. We discussed about uh, for a new repo where uh, we can add all the Helm chart in few days we will get Helm chart for NSM. One more repo for only Helm chart. Should we make something like this?
Yep, that makes sense to me. That we would need a repository to store Meshery's Helm chart. I
Yes,
am,
sir.
and I don't. And so that makes sense. It sounded like part of the ask was to make one repository per service mesh, and that didn't. I don't know. Maybe I'm misinterpreting the ask, but that doesn't necessarily make sense. It is clear that we do need a repository for the Meshery Helm chart.
Um, I partly agree with that. Most of the projects out there, what they do is they don't separate it out. They usually keep the Helm charts along with the rest of the source code. Right. I mean, even us, we have our deployment YAMLs in the same repository as Meshery. I mean, it doesn't matter, but then, we can go either ways. Uh, but yes, I agree that, all the Helm charts for all the adapters should be in one place, because it shouldn't be people have to try 10 charts for installing the entire Meshery, but rather it should be one chart, which deploys all the adapters and Meshery in one shot. I think that'll be a better approach.
Okay, sir.
Nice. Yeah, it would be good. It's too bad that it's such a late hour for Shuko to join. Because yeah, it would be good to maybe it's just a matter of convention as to whether or not there's a separate repo or they're included in tree, so to speak, and what the trade-offs are. Because it doesn't sound like either one of them is necessarily the wrong path. But does anyone have anything to offer on that in terms of the pros and cons of having the charts in a separate repo versus in the main repo? Yeah, neither do I. I haven't spent time there to know. So Gunjan, that's if you're continuing to focus in this area, it's a good thing to go study a little bit. Is look at how many of the Helm charts that are available in the Helm hub or how many of them are stored in a repository that's separate from their main project? How many are included in the same project? I can see that.
Okay, sir.
Okay, and we should also pop that question over to Asuko.
Sorry, what was that?
Oh, and it would be good to ask Asuko to do that same type of analysis.
Oh, analysis. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm sorry. It sounded to me like that. Like you were handing it off to Asuko, and I'm like, has he even joined the call? Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, cool.
I'll make a note in the meeting minutes, see if he'll jump in.
Sounds good. Nuno, if you want to take the ball, go ahead.
Yes, I will. So let me show all screen actually. Easier for me. Just let me know when you see my screen. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. No screen just yet though.
Okay. Let me try again. Yeah, he didn't. Oh, yeah, he didn't take it. Alrighty. better.
There it is.
Okay. Cool. So I will try to be more concise as usual, so we have more time for other topics. The topic of the day, it's something that takes me a little bit to heart. We already spoke with Lee and Girish about the in-cluster actually deployment versus what we are doing and showcasing with Meshery CTL. So Meshery CTL, after you see that, you will be so happy that we have it, believe me. It took me some kind of research. I'm still learning Kubernetes a lot, so took me some time. I will just go quickly about the prerequisites. I will write a blog post about that, by the way, so it will be I already wrote a phase 1 that is on drafts, and then this will be like a kind of phase 2, and I will also do a phase 2 prime to be more focused on Meshery CTL. So the base was that as you can see on the right, all my logos here, the stack. This is the stack actually that we will be using right now. So first of all, I installed WSL2, then I installed Ubuntu. This one is what is it actually? I don't remember if it's 20. No, it's the normal. It's Bionic. Okay, it's the latest LTS. It's running there on WSL2 still, as you can see here on the kernel part. Let me maybe just do something. Okay. Then what I did is install microKTS, and we can see that by running the command of the status. And here it will show me, okay, that microKTS is running, cool. And then all the add-ons. I won't enter too much. Sorry, I won't enter too much into microKTS. I will just mention though that WSL-Conf is coming in March, and I will be speaking a little bit more about it. Okay, so stay tuned. Inside what time I installed some things that are recommended, the DNS, internal DNS inside the microKTS. Metric servers, I just installed it or enabled it, but I'm not really using it. But for the time being, the most important one here is the Metal LB, which is the load balancer. Okay, and I will need it because remember, WSL2 is running on a VM, and I need, if I'm using the normal browser from the Windows side, I need to have an entry point into my services that I will publish inside Kubernetes. So Metal LB is by default, and I can install it. It was quite easy, as you can see. It's this command here. I know it's a bit tiny, sorry, but it's like microKTS enable and then the add-on. Another funny point, because it will be for later, you can see here linker D that is disabled currently. Okay, so after I did all that, I have my status, I have everything. I cloned Meshery, and I went to the deployment YAMLs into the KTS folder or directory, sorry, Windows speaker. And here you can see by default that we have all that. Thank you for the kind heart that split between 116 and the previous, so 115 and earlier. For the ones not following Kubernetes that close, maybe, just working on Meshery, maybe project into the UI and stuff. The 116 brought how do you say, like a feature, not a feature, but like a setting that breaks actually the deployments. And the thing, I think this one, the deployment actually. Deployment here. The thing is here. You see the API version, and if I do the same into my Meshery deployment, here you can see that's now it's referenced as apps v1 since 116. So there's a breaking change. That's it. Sorry, that was the word that was searching. So before, so 115 and earlier, you will have these extensions in beta, and then since 116, they removed the beta, and they now are addressing through another API version. Okay. So again, thanks very much to the kind art who split the config YAMLs between 116 and the other. What I still did have to do is like the split was not full. Okay, so I did copy over the service of ISTO and Linkerd, and then the service and accounts also, because they are compatible with prior and after 116. And which brings me to that if I do, what is it? Snap info, micro KS, and I will just grab for install. I'm running the 117. Okay, not even 116. It's already the new one. Let me just move this. Okay, so everything is all good. Next step, once you do that, if we follow the Meshery Kubernetes, you say here, we do have it here. Yeah, exactly. So here on this on the Meshery website documentation, we do have how to quick start with Kubernetes. So I did the kubectl, then I created a new namespace, and then I applied the deployments k8s, and actually not k8s directly, but k8s and k8s 116 deployments. Okay, so I deployed it here, here. So this is the commands here. Let me just copy it. Okay, so I won't do it, but that was forget the MK. The MK is just an alias for a micro k8s kubectl, so forget that for now. But then I did apply everything that was inside the directory, so all the deployments. Let me show it again. All these files were applied. Now, once it's, let's say, it's going through it's applying everything into the Kubernetes, the micro k8s Kubernetes server and or cluster. And once we do that, now comes the part of the Metal LB and why it's so important. So if we now run the get all for all namespaces, right, we will see here down into the services that we have an external IP. Okay, and this external IP is in the network visible by both WSL2 in the VM, which is the base, but also Windows. And more importantly, here we can see the port that is exposed on the WSL2 side, okay? And then the other side, as you might know, is the Kubernetes inside. Okay, so this port we won't be able to reach from externally, so from my Windows, let's say, but this one I will be able. So if I go to this address here, 31920, let me go here, I already have it, and then 31920, and then the ports. If I just refresh the page, I'm here and I will arrive here. And now you can see the layout again, which is nice. We have the using in cluster config. If I click on it, thank you for the ping. Now I know. So I could ping it, no problem. And the adapters, however, and that's more for further discussion maybe, is that by default, we just have Meshery and Linkerd. Or sorry, we have Istio and Linkerd. Here on the left, remember what we discussed the last, or my point of view the last time, is that it's not really aligned now because I don't have console, I don't have the NSM, and I don't have Octary. I could though, quite easily apply the new adapters, okay, with an apply-f, so Meshery, or kubectl-n Meshery apply-f, and then the file that will actually say, here is the service mesh adapter, okay, and it will actually add it to here. I didn't find them. That's my second point here. I didn't find them in the Meshery Git. So when I cloned, I didn't find the other deployments. I think we have some parallel, so the teams can work on it, if I remember correctly. So I might try to get it on the next time. Okay.
Nice. Actually, Nuno, yeah. Do you? This might be what you just said. When you say you might try to get it on the next time, do you mean you might try to get a quick manifest written and push it up to the repo?
We don't have it yet because Meshery CTL is publishing it in somehow. So my guess is that it is somewhere already. No?
Well, interesting. Actually, if we can, you can, let me give you this choice. We can either, if you want to postpone this question and let's put a pin in it actually, and we'll see if we can't empower you to be the one to create the other manifests.
I have so much blood, but yeah, no, definitively, I would like to test one. Why not? Yes, definitively.
Yeah, another Docker captain was asking yesterday for these things, and so.
Okay, yeah. All right. But yeah, so the YAML file is missing, but yeah, why not try to write one? And will be nice actually to see also how it was performed on the Meshery CTL side. That's good. That's a good knowledge to gain, definitively. So here, if I continue quickly, I can ping the adapters also, and they are installed. Okay. So once I do have that, so I'm on here. I will go to Linkerd, and now the default we already been there, so I can just install the latest version of Linkerd, and it's now publishing it. So if I can come here and just do here, we should see a way bigger list. Here it goes. So we have some deployments happening, the replica set happening, and of course, if I go up, we have the pods that are initializing, and the services also. Now, mind here, remember, I have just one external IP for the time being that is pointing, it's for my service of Meshery. So hopefully, and I think it's quite fast, I always miss, let's say, the wait commands. I know that there's a way better or shinier way to show all that. But soon Linkerd should be up and running, and I should get, so all the pods are there. The services are published, everything is published, and so why not? Where is Linkerd?
You can see it at the top. Service, default, Linkerd control API, DST, Grafana identity. Yeah, it's all right here.
All right. But when I run it the last time, oh no, that's correct. Sorry, you so right. Thank you. So right now, thank you very much. Let me edit. Okay. I need to edit. The web one. The entry point. Okay, wait, no. I know. Sorry. If I go here, no. Oh, Sorry. Okay, my bad. I went too fast.
Oh, you thought you
Linkerd,
found the
yeah,
sample application
yeah,
as well?
exactly. My
Gotcha.
bad. So I will quickly just deploy now. So sorry, we go back just a little bit. Like I said, I'm learning. Huh? So Linkerd now is installed. Like the service mesh adapter is installed, and Linkerd itself, service mesh itself, is also installed into Kubernetes. So now, finally, I can install the Linkerd book apps. It will tell me that it's done and that is on these ports. Unfortunately, when we do the book app install, now that's the only part. Let me get all the namespaces again. And here we go. So now we can see that is the same port, 31.7. Is okay, disappeared. Sorry. So it's the same one, but now thanks to the load balancer, my service is actually exposed directly. So now if I go to this address, port 7000, which I show that here, 21.7,000. As you can see here, it was not in running, and if I refresh, here we go, we have the book apps. Sorry, thank you. Thanks a lot, Girish. And done. Just one last bit that I said that it was funny. If you remember, when I run before the status, Linkerd was disabled. And actually the module inside or the add-on inside microkDATS actually knows that now Linkerd is installed, which is kind of, let's say, fun, adding, let's say, a different deployment, but the other one recognizing it. So here we go. Any questions?
No, that is pretty neat. Actually, you don't know any of the mechanics that MicroK is using to detect Linkerd.
No, I suppose that he knows exactly what he needs to be like the replica says, the deployments and the pods. I guess he has some else checks on these ones, and by detecting them, he detects that Linkerd is running.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if they were just, if they were using.
Don't quote me on that, but yeah.
Right, just like the fingerprint I'm sorry, the name Linkerd to fingerprint it, because I could make up an image called Linkerd and deploy it and create up a replica set and other thing. Like I wonder what specific. Be curious to know.
I might ask one of the devs I'm in contact with of MicroKTS what exactly could be. Yeah.
That'd be nice, because we in Meshery it needs to do the same thing right now. I think actually you might have pointed it out in the past. It's been an item on the roadmap, and that is Meshery will deploy the service mesh, but it doesn't necessarily indicate to you that the mesh is present, and it very much so needs to be in sync with the cluster and in sync with what meshes are running and their status, and it and so there's a design spec out there that talks about just that mesh sync.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is what identifiers to use to, what fingerprint, if you will, to look for to, without, beyond a shadow of a doubt, identify what mesh, what version, So yeah, it's a point of interest. That would be curious.
Okay, definitely. Yeah, we can. I can take the point. No problem. One last part, quickly, where we are. Over here. Like release sets. We are on 559. So let me run a test then. Here, run tests. So it's only 30 seconds. I'm not even, and again, that's the part that I might need to understand a little bit better. Let me just take this one. Okay, might know a bit better about then service meshes and applications. What values could be like
Yeah.
interesting to have here and stuff. One point, I'm not testing the full thing here. So here is the test results. I again, I don't know if it's good, if it's bad. I just see like
Yeah. Hey, look,
there's a spike, but then it goes lower.
it looks pretty. I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
one
No.
thing, one thing I didn't plug any Grafana nor Prometheus yet. So it's like it's half baked, or not half baked. It's more like we are in the half of the baking. So the full thing, as you can see, everything that is now like working together from let's say an in cluster part. It will be interesting to see like outside the cluster and if it's will be the same results, because now Linkerd will be also inside the Kubernetes. So we definitively should have kind of the same results anyway. One last thing just for us, because I don't understand, Fort IO, the load generator was working fine, but if I use a worker 2, if I run the test, again, 30 seconds, sorry for that, we need to wait, it will end up in an error. So we might want to check, maybe outside the call maybe, but what exactly needs maybe to run, or where can I see logs? So see if it's an issue itself, or if it's just an issue related to maybe WSL2, because maybe some kernel module or something like that is missing. Okay. So yesterday I tried it out, and normally
Yep. So, Garish, can we look at that right now? Because I've had poor experiences as well with WRK2. Some of that has been me either when I'm running Meshery in a development environment on Mac OS, that there's a conflict there. It needs to be running, it's built for specific architecture. In this case, Nuno is running it in a container, and so why are we seeing a failure?
Gotcha. Like, I mean, do we have a bug open for this? I can definitely look into it, but
No,
it'll be nice if we have a
I
bug.
will.
Awesome,
Definitively, it was just to showcase like quickly what I run through, and and here we go. So yeah, that's the presentation.
Yep.
So
This is good.
around
But better than that, actually, what I'm asking is to teach others how to fish here. And so what I'm asking is, should they go and open up the Meshery log? Should they? Where should the debugging begin?
Yeah, that would be a good place to start, because what's going to happen is, like, Meshery would log what really happened in the backend. We probably are not surfacing the error here, because it might be overwhelming amount of data here to actually show in that one particular tiny area. So yeah, checking the logs is actually the first thing. It's like uniform, like the universal first thing to actually do. Check the logs, and like usually it'll report that, like the file is missing, or the executable is not found, or something of that sort, which would usually mean that, like when the container image was built, either WRK2 was either built successfully, but like wasn't moved to the right spot. There could be, like there could be anything there. But yeah, I've seen it work. But yes, it's been a while, like I tested it. So this is definitely a good thing that, like you're able to test it and see that it's not working. This is perfect. Like we should be able to get it fixed pretty quickly.
And just to clarify, when we say go look at the logs, is it immediately obvious to you where those logs are, or how to get to them?
I would say maybe Kubernetes somehow. So we might kubectl should have like something like logs, no, I guess.
That's
Right.
true. That's true, and probably that's true. The first one, though, the easiest one, the one that's the most, is actually Meshery CTL logs.
Which I don't, because I'm in cluster now right now.
Correct. Yeah. So when he's in the Meshery CTL command is not. I mean, at the moment, like it is not helpful.
Okay.
We should make it helpful eventually, but yes, no, like what you said is right. Like so you have to find the Meshery pod and get the logs from them.
Yeah, but isn't that just a matter of exposing Meshery's REST API so that he can get to it?
No, we're talking about like Meshery's logs. So Meshery's REST APIs don't get you the logs. It's the Kubernetes which is collecting the logs. So earlier, like, the default Meshery CTL, like, what it does is it collects the logs from Docker. So, so now he is deployed not just on Docker, but on Kubernetes. So,
Got it.
so the logs are being maintained by Kubernetes. So, yeah.
Got it. Makes sense.
You need the pod name, or you need to find the label.
Yeah, it's here, but
Exactly, yeah. That should work. If you change.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Perfect.
Sweet.
I like that. Learning.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's awesome.
So okay, but we'll have a look maybe later on. But cool. So yeah, Lee. Again, Meshery CTL. I will try the same with Meshery CTL definitively. So it will be outside cluster, and we'll try to have a look if I run through the same, which I guess I will. Worker 2, and then I will also compare maybe how the Meshery CTL logs come out displaying and everything.
Awesome. And one thing, since you already have the logs here, I mean, if you can just capture the logs, especially the error areas, and post it in the bug, it'll be helpful. Like when people are like investigating it, that'll be a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
No problem. All right. So let's stop.
Cool. That was
So
a great.
yeah, it took me quite some let's say working around to find everything, how you put like everything in cluster compared to Meshery CTL. I really like or even love doing that because when you have abstractions, so big abstractions, and you just start coming backwards to learn what the abstraction is about, seriously, the Meshery CTL is really getting helpful here, believe me. So everything is like helping the user or the end user that I am again, but the end user to actually publish something. And like the tweet I wrote was, and we can see it here. Hopefully, it will be a proof. I didn't. Okay, it's missing maybe metal LB, the implement, adding it to the micro K8s cluster, but the time to go from once Meshery CT or Meshery is deployed in cluster, independent. So the moment Meshery is deployed, it goes really fast. We implemented a Linkerd just like that. We implemented, or we deployed a first application just like that also, and it took like 20 minutes today with all the talking. So once we do have like I have my K8s cluster, Meshery CTL start, log in, install it. It will be even, let's say, faster.
Mm-hmm.
And in the world where everyone says like Kubernetes is complex, Kubernetes is complicated, having such things that I can test it on my own machine, I think it's the real strength behind like you don't have to concentrate too much into like what is Kubernetes, how you deploy the YAML files, how to understand what the service, what a load balancer is. I mean, I'm really learning it. I heard about it. I went to read about it while I was doing it actually. So, but then with all these technologies, that's what makes it really, really interesting.
It's a good reminder that the command Meshery CTL start presumes use of Docker and actually needs to be changed around. It needs to either have a flag or we need to change the command. It may need to, the command structure itself, it may need to be Meshery CTL platform name start, Meshery CTL Docker start, Meshery CTL Kate start, or Meshery start hyphen name a platform or so yeah, so it's so Anand, I hope you're listening. Also, there's a number of the rest of you on the call that so Nipur, I know you in particular have just been becoming familiarized and more comfortable, and then kind of awaiting your first significantly juicy area to bite into. There's actually a couple that are coming up on the call now. One of those is the exposure of logs, Meshery logs, in the Meshery UI. That would be convenient for people. We have some amount of logs and some amount of feedback that you can see in the UI that go into the little notification center. Some of them carry some helpful tips that, like, hey, something failed, you go click on it and it actually shows you a little modal screen that says, here's some additional detail about the failure. But there's a couple of issues. One, I don't think most people even understand that they can go click that and find some potential additional details. Two, the details are, they're generally not enough to get you to really tell you what's going on and get you somewhere. Four, the details are all of the debug isn't necessarily going to be available in those notifications, but being able to pull up the Meshery logs, irrespective of whether Meshery is running in Docker or Kubernetes, is beneficial. Anyway, Nupur dropped off, so I think she's probably having audio issues. New notes, really nice. It's really nice and helpful. Yeah,
Thank you.
The thing that I was thinking about when I was suggesting the deployment YAM or the manifests for other was mostly that it was like a copy paste of the existing ones and kind of a remix. And so
I got it. It's like my thought was that I didn't, let's say, clone the right repository, because somehow for Meshery CTL, my guess is that anyway these files should already be there. But definitively, I'm interested in having a look about I don't know, like let's say Octarine, and then try to just copy what we have for Linkerd and see what Octarine needs to deploy. It's again learning also what are we injecting, right? Because who says abstraction says that you don't see config files, you just trust it, right? People will be trusting Meshery CTL to help deploying some service meshes of their wishes, but the trust, sometimes people don't trust so much. So having maybe the files that even Meshery CTL is using could be like more open for some people that maybe understand also, and if they want to tweak, maybe I don't know, their own deployment.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely that. Not only to tweak the configuration, tweak the deployment, really important to considering, if you consider that someone will use Meshery ongoing to do operations forthgoing, that they're gonna need to be really comfortable with the tool, confident and trust it to do things that they understand that it will do. I mean, and you're right. There a lot of times there's users sometimes end up being on two ends of the spectrum. It's those that are just, well, hey, I've got faith in the tool. It says it's going to do what it's going to do. I really don't understand that stuff, but I need to get this stuff done, so I'm going to use the tool to do it. And those that really do understand it and are still going to, either one of the two of those users it's their confidence is inspired when they can easily drill down in the tool a bit to have their confidence reinforced that, oh, okay, that's the detail. Oh, that's what's really going on. Okay, I totally understand that and I'm comfortable with it. Or I totally don't understand that, and I'm comfortable with it because it just makes me feel good to see the details anyway. And so you're right. Like as Nipur rejoins, I'll kind of re-describe part of what we were talking about here, and that is that when, like even last night when I was giving the workshop, we're saying, hey, Meshery is going to deploy this service mesh for you. And really, in this case, I was telling them, hey, it's really just doing a kubectl apply, So there's no magic sauce. There's nothing really, it's boring to go do that. You've done it a bunch of times. But even just for someone to be able to see see a small stream of what those commands are, what the events and operations that are occurring, there's some feedback that they get in the UI, and it's nice. Like they get a little blue, thanks to Nikhil, a blue info message that says operation is executing. But it's like, well, okay, that's great. If I wanted the detail, could I go over and click on that blue notification, and it would show me, oh, it was this kubectl apply -f, such whatever the interaction was, would be helpful. It's also that same type of thing that's helpful for logs too. So Nupur, I'm going to catch up, get some more ideas going with you, and maybe with Nuno, because he's got a great perspective here. I know we're a few minutes out. Anand, you had, bye. See you soon, Nikhil. Anand, you wanted to demo Meshery CTL?
Yeah, surely. So
Okay, I'm now sorry. Talk to you next week, and I will check your demo on on replay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
all.
you,
See you,
sir.
Nuno.
Happy weekend.
You too.
Yeah. So I'm sharing my screen. It's sharing. So the update in Meshery CTL is the UX update, and it consists of previously when we ran Meshery CTL, then it will show info error or warnings. Now the new update is that we won't require that timestamp that we are having. So this is the new Meshery CTL binary that I'm going to use. So as you can see, we don't have that timestamp now, and it is version dev and get shy because I'm using it on the development environment, and this is pretty much it. And this is the code that I added on the root.go and messagectl to get that UX.
That's awesome, dude.
I think that's it for me because it's very small amount of change that has occurred.
It's so much better though. Yeah, so much better. And not only that, do you know, have we been able to test that in a Windows environment? Because it would be amazing if...
Yeah, actually I will I was going to ask Nikhil to test it out.
Nice. Who else has Windows on the call? Everyone else is too embarrassed to admit it.
I think we don't have anyone.
Oh yeah,
right
no,
now.
no. Okay, good. Okay, good. I'll poke a couple of folks too, but yeah, please do. Anybody else have any comments for Anand on that?
Yeah, Anand, hey, cool, man. Yeah, this is great. Yeah, this was a long time request, from me. So this is great. And especially I think Nuno would be very excited to see this because he was one of them, I think, who opened a bug, for reporting one of those weird issues with the log messages with Meshery CTL. So I think he would be pretty excited to see this. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, actually, Nuno sir was the one who asked us to remove that timestamp.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he'll be excited when he sees the video recording of this call. So yeah, that's great.
Oh, that's why he was quite keen on it. Okay, very good. Cool.
All right. Does anybody else have anything else to present today? We have 3 minutes.
Yeah, I need to.
Cool. So what do you want to present, Raga?
So basically, I'm having some doubt that I'm solving the issue in.
Cool. Yeah.
You can see my screen, right?
I sure can. Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so what I did was I added the performance section here in settings page.
Cool.
So basically here I have to do is if I do the submit button, it will say the default setting is in performance, right?
Right.
So now for just one sake to just run off the system, what I did was I wrote a function in backend. So here. Yeah, so if I press the submit button, it goes to this URL in the backend with the parameters. So in the backend, I wrote this function.
Raga,
And
actually, you don't need a function in the backend. There's already something like which I think I wrote on Tuesday. It's not just for this one, but also for the other one which Nikhil is working on. So I kind of put them together. But there's already a function in the backend. But I mean, if you don't want to use it, that's all right. I mean,
so what I was planning was if I press the submit button, the parameters will go to the backend, and in the Meshery performance page, I'll track those default settings from the backend function.
Right now, so there are two parts to what you just said. So one, if you actually, I mean, so I'm not sure if you have your latest, I mean, if your code synced up with the master. If you have not in the last 2 or 3 days, you probably should, because there are some updates like in the backend and in the front end. Now the updates are, one is that now there are two endpoints in the backend, for one for receiving the preference. So what do you have right now is actually preference. So we have this thing where the preference which you were submitting is getting persisted in the right place for the user. The same way there's one I created for Nikhil's story. Now there's this other thing where when the page loads, all the user preferences are sent to the UI, and when they are sent to the UI actually persists it in the Redux store. So in your case, when your page is loaded, you should just load it from the Redux store. You shouldn't be making a call to the backend to get it. You see the point?
Okay.
So that's the chain of events. Yeah.
Okay.
I can send you the information. I know we are pretty much on top of the hour, but I can send you the detailed instructions for that.
Fine. Makes sense.
You should. I mean, the simplest thing is you should be able to find the endpoints, because they're all in the recent commits. You should be able to see them, or just open your server.go and you should see the new endpoints. And also, if you see the recent changes, you'll see that the UI has this thing where it updates the Redux store when the page loads. Yeah, so when you go to your page, when you go to your specific page, all you have to do is load it from the Redux store, and that behavior is actually kept kind of systematically uniform across the board. If you go to other settings page, other sections of the settings, it's exactly the same thing that's happening. So when you go to the the performance section, when you go to the environment section or the service meshes section, that's exactly what's happening. So you will see that if you look at the code, you will see that the settings are loaded from the Redux store. So you just have to follow that same pattern, and you'll have everything functional.
Fine. So what I was doing was correct or not?
You pretty much are close. So for
Okay.
submitting, you do need an endpoint. But my recommendation is use the endpoint which I created.
Yeah, fine.
With these
I just want to make sure that my logic was correct.
Yeah, no. You pretty much have everything ready. I mean, so honestly, the things which I'm telling you, they seem long, but you almost are there. I think you've completed 80%. So the 20% of connecting things up is what is needed.
Okay, cool.
So I would say just synchronize it with master, and
Fine.
You should. You're almost there. Yeah.
Fine.
This is great work, man. Yeah. Awesome.
Okay.
That was, yeah, we are like almost 3 minutes past the end of the hour. If nobody has anything else to discuss, we can call it. We can call it like on the end of the day, and have a great weekend, everybody.
Same to you.
See you
Nice.
guys.
All right. Yeah, very good. Talk to you guys soon.
Happy weekend, sir.
Happy weekend.
See you all, guys. Yeah. See you next week.
You guys. Bye.
Bye.